Okay. JB, are you back there?
Huh?
Are you back there?
I am.
What are we looking at here? What is
This is the
this?
future.
This is the future.
Certainly isn't the present.
It looks like it's also very much the ancient past at one point.
Yes.
What is this here?
Okay, this is one of a handful of 38 Lincoln Zephyr convertibles that remain on the planet.
Huh.
I don't think I've ever seen more than a total of maybe 5 in 15 years.
Okay.
So this one ironically came out of northern Arizona and made a trip to California,
Okay.
where I found it and brought it home, you might say. Now, it went through an interesting series of owners. Fortunately, when these cars were borderline worthless back in probably the 80s, 70s, 80s, and further back even, the idea that it was a convertible kind of saved it.
Okay.
A lot of these just got thrown away. A lot of them, there were only a few hundred of them made. And
So when you talk about them, let me just interrupt. This is a 1938?
1938 Lincoln Zephyr Convertible Coupe.
Convertible Coupe. I wanted to
Yes.
get that part straight.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is the 4-passenger. There were 2 of them. Early on, this right here ended about right here.
Okay.
So that precluded a second seat.
Okay,
those are short couples.
Okay.
Those, then, since they didn't sell very well because nobody could get in the back seat, there was no back seat,
Right.
effectively, they said, all right, let's go ahead and make a regular convertible coupe, which is what this is. This is the second version of the 38 convertible coupe.
Okay.
From Lincoln Zephyr. So it's a lot more practical. You can put passengers in the back seat and the front seat. Didn't change the body style. They just pushed the cockpit back about 2 feet.
Okay.
And so the bodies are entirely different than from the short coupled in the back seat version.
How does this compare to a normal coupe like we've been watching you build?
All these cars were built out of coupes.
Okay.
They're nothing but cut up coupes. Virtually no manufacturer ever that I'm aware of in any quantity actually built a convertible from scratch. It was
So literally they would take
there.
a coupe off the line pretty much?
That's correct. They took a coupe body and they cut it right here.
Okay.
You can see where the work was done. If you look at the doors in particular,
Okay.
you look at the top of the doors, these are coupe doors that have been cut off and then a plate placed here.
Yeah, you can
to
see a
cover
little
up
bit of
the
the
hole.
bodywork on top. Yeah,
Exactly.
covering the hole.
That was leaded in at the aftermarket manufacturer. These were not built by Lincoln.
Okay.
Remember Edsel's famous statement, how long does it take to build a Lincoln Zephyr? He said, not very long, it's only about 60 feet. Because really they came to Lincoln already built by another aftermarket manufacturer, and that was true of just about all the manufacturers. They had no resources to fool around with a few hundred cars, so they had them built by aftermarket manufacturers. And this particular car, like I said, was abandoned on the Indian reservation, probably in the 50s or 60s, best guess. And then it was offered to me unwisely. I turned it down. I think the question was something like, what the hell is a Lincoln Zephyr? And my friend, who's an Indian engineer in northeastern Arizona, said, you don't know what a Lincoln Zephyr is? And I said, no. So now that was a long time ago. Now that car got sold to another friend in California, and that's where we found it and that's where we rescued it. Of course, a lot of the rust and rot that would have happened didn't happen.
Yeah.
And we were able to put together the convertible component of it. It had most of it. We had another convertible, and we were able to create some of the bows that were necessary to make a convertible.
Okay.
And then also they have a lot of good diagrams that Lincoln generated. These particular pieces here, which are all unique to the 38 only. So 8 and 9 shared some parts, but if they actually have a different schematic from Lincoln, so that tells me that there were some differences between 38 and 39, but there is some crossover.
Okay.
So since we have 2 of them, probably only 2 of them that I've ever seen in the same place,
Yeah.
we were able to go back and forth and finish the convertible top mechanisms for both cars.
Yeah, so that's a 39 in the further
Correct.
distance, and then in
Yeah.
between them, is that what
That's
year
a
is
40 convertible coupe.
Okay, that's a 40.
All right.
I got you.
And the thing you have to do when you first get a convertible, or if you even get it at all, is say, where are the convertible top pieces? If the guy makes a funny look, run, don't walk to the exit.
Okay, because that's a big problem, huh?
That's a huge problem. Now, if you're talking about a Ford or a Chevrolet or a Buick, you probably have a resource to come up with that stuff. If you're talking about a car that you only made a few hundred of, and most if not all of them are already gone, then you've got to really make sure you can put your hands on that stuff. Or another way to do that is find somebody who has one that hasn't been finished. Let's say you're missing this rod here, then you take that to a reasonable steel fabricator and say, make me one of these.
I see.
Which is going to just be the left hand, right hand.
So at least then you have a piece to duplicate.
You have a model to build it to.
Yeah, right. Okay.
A drawing is interesting and it tells you what's there, but it doesn't tell you the dimensions.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell you when it zigs and zags. So you got to have the actual piece itself,
Yeah,
at
that
least
makes
temporarily.
sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
And since we had the two cars, we completed the pieces that each one required.
Yeah.
Because we had both cars.
Wow, and I'm impressed with this body. There isn't any rust that I'm seeing.
No, this was, like I said, it's from Arizona. Very little, if any, rust anywhere on it. The trunk's really nice. So it really has lived a charmed life. It just sat out in the desert up in northern Arizona, and very little rain, very little moisture. So it was able to survive, and fortunately, this friend of mine, a Navajo guy who has some great stories about him all by himself. He saved it, and he saved a bunch of cars. And fortunately, drug them out of there. See, the reservation is off limits to everybody except people that are of Indian descent. So we couldn't go get it even if we knew it was there. We have to get a person who lives there and works there to go get it, because we're not legally allowed to touch it.
Right, I see.
It's part of another nation.
Yeah.
And you can't go in there and you can't rescue it. It's not ours and it's theirs. So you have to find somebody who's willing to go out in the middle of nowhere sometimes and rescue these things. We had a really bad door on this car originally. We were able to get a pair of convertible doors miraculously. I had no idea why I was buying them at the time, but then I realized they were up in the attic, and I thought, oh yeah, here we go. So we're just now in the process of getting started. We're going to do a complete inventory of what it still needs. And so we're going to go on in the Outlook for that, and make sure we either have it in our parts department or someone else, a friend, somebody else that we know.
That you can get your hands on it.
Yeah, we're going to put the word out to the few people that know about this stuff and make sure that we can find it. But I don't see anything of any note that we don't already have. This of course being the most important part. We even have a decent header bow, which we can use for a pattern, and we made a pattern for the 35 Roadster we just built, and that's how we did that. We took a decent pattern. We have a wood duplicator and a really talented wood group, and we'd say, look, make me one of these now, make one brand new exactly like that with all the different curves.
That's amazing.
Things out of probably oak or ash. We really like ash better, to be honest. It's a little better in the weather. But then all of this will be stripped. These pieces will be polished and chromed. There's not a whole lot to do here, fortunately. Some of these tops are enormous and very expensive. This one's particularly simple and straightforward. It appears we have everything that we need down to and through the pieces that go down inside the car. You can see we've made fiberglass replicas of the pieces there, because they're pretty poopy. So we made molds, and then we create these because we knew this would be sitting out in the weather. Now this wood we made as well, but it's still decent for patterns, so we can still make the patterns for those pieces. I mean, it's Arizona, so we have that going for us. But really, the car is a starting place. Is really a really good car.
Good place.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, until you educated me, I would not have understood that. But now I'm starting to learn.
Looking at the details. What you should be looking at is what still needs to be done, and is something missing. Now, because they're coupes, the deck lid, for instance, is completely unique to the car. all the car is really a coupe to begin with. So those are rare enough without making it into convertibles. Now you got an even rarer car.
Right.
So if you have, for instance, one of these and you need this piece right here, okay, as long as this car is not put together, then we can actually reproduce something from that and give it and sell it to them.
Right.
So that's available.
Interesting.
But otherwise, the car has everything except the rocker moldings, the side moldings we have up in the attic. So
I'm
actually it's very complete.
Even a little fascinated by even the fasteners. You look at the screw head type there that you don't ever see these days.
It's countersunk, so it doesn't stick out.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And okay.
Well, that's cool. What we found with a lot of the casting pieces like this one here, the chrome's peeling off. What we'll do is we'll actually sand it down and polish the virgin metal.
Okay.
Okay. Sometimes that's good enough. If the virgin metal is rust resistant, why are we plating it? Now, that doesn't mean you can't plate it, but you've taken 2/3 of the work out of it by taking it apart, straightening it, polishing it, and then sending it to the plater. It's a much simpler job for him.
Yeah.
If it's already been done. You don't want to plate it and bring it back here and find out it's the wrong shape.
Right. So by having it in place, you know
exactly. Build the car as if you were going to finish it and then stop and do an analysis and an inventory of what you still need, what still needs to be done. We got to make this top operate when it's in the rough condition.
Okay.
We don't want to do that when everything's polished.
Right.
And find out that this one is too short or too long. We want to operate the top.
I see.
And make sure that it's happy, and then we can go to the point of blowing it apart, polishing it, maybe sending some of this stuff out for plating. I don't see much here that needs to be plated, honestly.
Okay, well, let's show us what's under the hood here.
Yeah, what's under the hood is a giant hole into which only V12s will go.
Only V12s.
We don't know about anything else that doesn't have 12 cylinders.
Right. Again, there's amazing, no rust anywhere.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
It really is, because you can see that this pan right here, I believe this is one of ours. Now this is laminate, but you can see why these things didn't survive. The water set right in here and rusted them. Now this is one of ours, and you cannot tell it from steel. There's no way. They're absolutely identical.
And when I say no rust, I have to be careful. I do see a tiny
You have surface rust, obviously,
a couple
that you got to deal with, right?
But
exactly.
Not much.
Not a whole lot to work yourself up about.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I like this car. And it's that way underneath all the way down.
Okay.
We only have one. The battery tray has got some problems, and we're going to have to. We'll just take that out and
redo it.
Redo it with sheet metal. Not a whole lot to do there.
Wow.
But you know, like I can't overemphasize the idea that before you start a car, don't start on a car that's blown apart.
Yeah.
Put it together. Find out what you're missing. This is not a 57 Chevy. You're going to be looking for things.
Yeah.
But if you don't even know that you're looking for something,
that's very good advice.
You get to that point in the build and you say, well, where's the fill in the blank?
Yeah, that's not a good feeling when you all of a sudden.
Beginning.
Yeah,
to give you the time to secure these parts and find them and trade for them or pay for them or whatever you got to do.
That's super good advice.
Yeah, it really is. I don't care what car you're working with.
Yeah.
Put it together first.
Huh. Yeah.
See what it needs. Okay. Sit down and do a studious inventory of what really is needed, and then start looking for sources.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised that this stuff is disappearing even as you're doing it.
So you have an engine to put in this?
Yes.
Okay.
And we have a rebuild engine. Ed Smith's already built the engine for it.
Oh, cool.
So we got a couple of Ed's engines ahead.
Oh. Well, that's an advantage.
Well, Ed's 83 and he needs time to get to it and do it, and Ed does beautiful work.
Yeah.
But he's busy.
Sure.
And we can't always be over there whining and crying. And
get ahead of it a little bit.
Yeah, get ahead of it a little bit, exactly.
Excellent. Well, JB, I have a feeling not only me, but a lot of other people are going to be interested in following this along.
Yeah, we're excited. This is probably going to be a keeper. Oh, if we find some interested party
maybe
who would like to have one of these in his garage. We've done a number of them, and I think
hint, now's the time if you want to spec it a certain way.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, we're open to offers, but we're not really, building it for that exact reason.
Okay.
I've always wanted a convertible coupe. I missed one years ago. I've never gotten over it. A friend of mine had one and I should have bought it, and shame on me, but this is my redemption right here.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
That's fantastic.